Good afternoon, how are you? So I'm continuing to answer questions that are being sent to the following email, info@jayo.com. Once again, your questions should be sent to info@jayo.com, info@jayo.com. Most questions are coming from readers of You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. But you can send me questions on any topic, and I do request that you also download the app Jayo, J-I-Y-O. Go to the internet and check out jayo.com. It's a place for us to hang out together. It's our place of connecting with each other, of sharing ideas, posting happy moments, and encouraging each other to be the change we want to see in the world, so that ultimately we can move in the direction of that critical mass for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, and healthier and joyful world. So today's question is pretty long. It comes from Salongo Clywater, and she seems to be a Chinese Mongolian immigrant woman who lives, I think, in Los Angeles and works as a translator as well. And she is asking many questions about language, but particularly how language is something that influences our personal reality, and the fact that now there are so many immigrants in the United States. The English language is also evolving, and where will this ultimately take us? So I thought I would answer the question in a way that all of us can learn how to make language useful in creating our experience of reality. So I mean this very seriously. Does language merely describe events? Does it explain events? Or does it in fact create our reality? You know, in the spiritual traditions of the world, even in the Bible, there's a statement: first there was the Word, and the Word was made into flesh, and the Word was with God. So in many ancient traditions, the idea is that language not only describes our experiences and our thoughts and our interpretations of experiences, but in some way language shapes our experience of that which we call perception, and therefore our experience of that which we call our body, and our experience of our interconnectedness, and our experience of that which we call the physical world. So, you know, I was looking at my notes and looking at the early theories on vocal language. There are many theories, but nobody actually knows the origins of language. So there's something called the Bow Wow theory, which says that that language came about as a result of onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is where the sound echoes the sense. I remember my first experience of onomatopoeia when I was still in high school, and reading Alfred Lord Tennyson, who was a master of onomatopoeia in his poetry. Idols of the King was one of my favorites. Dry clashed his harness in the icy caves, and the bare black cliff clanged with shouts of slippery heel, or sounds of slippery heels. You can see, the sound and the sense echoing each other as those soldiers are walking on ice, and the bare black cliff clanged as he used his feet or anchored his feet on juts of slippery crag. You can hear, you can see, you can feel. So if somebody says, I love you, and you're in love with them, then those words create a surge in your heart, oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, opiates. And if somebody says, I love you, but you're considering divorcing that particular person, then the same phrase creates adrenaline and cortisol and suppresses your immune system. So you can see that the meaning and the context of the words and the story that is evoked when you hear words creates a biological response. Your body, in fact, is a story of everything you've said to yourself in your mind since you learned to use language. There are other theories of language, but since none of them are proved, I think we can skip them. The Bow Wow theory, the Ding Dong theory, which says the natural environment created the need for language. Then there's something called the Poo Poo theory that says language began with interjections such as ow or o or ha. There are other theories according to my notes, but bottom line is nobody knows. So there's something called the ho, yo, he, ho theory, which says grunts and groans people make when doing heavy physical labor ultimately became words. There's something called the la la theory, which says language evolved through play, song, and love. There's something called the Tartar Theory that says words arose from a desire to imitate gestures via the use of the tongue and the mouth. And of course, these days we have, language without the use of sound as language that is used through gestures. And then there is the Tartar Theory, in addition to the Ta-La Theory, which says the words arose from a desire to communicate, basically, through gestures. The Ta-La Theory says language came through play, song, and love. Okay, so I'm not going to go over all these theories because the very fact that all these theories exist means no one knows how language came into existence. Other animals have language too, but only humans can use language to create stories, to actually paint an amazing landscape of possibilities, sounds, colors, shapes, textures, smells, just through words. And I just saw today the latest Star Wars movie, and it is clear that the language shapes the entire zeitgeist of these futuristic movies, where language, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, context, meaning, relationship, and story all come together to create a new reality for all of us. So knowing this, how do we use language to find our true self, to increase the experience of love and compassion and joy and empathy? And how do we use language to even wake up to our true identity, which is our true self, which transcends all language? So the Buddha, in his Eightfold Path to Enlightenment, actually used language or right speech as one of the ways to get enlightened. So let me come back to that in 15 seconds, okay? Hi. So we don't really know how old language is. Written language is between 5 to 10,000 years old, and oral language goes back way beyond that. But as I've said, human language is very interesting in that human language is used to tell stories. And then there's mathematical language, and of course there's language of gestures, there's body language, there's the language of art, of music, and each of them is telling its own story. And what I'm saying is that actually every word that we utter is very important because it has the power of heal. It has the power to heal, but it also has the power to destroy. So as a physician, I'm very familiar with the word placebo, where you give the patient good news, or you tell the patient this drug is going to be very effective, and even if the drug turns out later to be a dummy drug or a sugar pill, then some patients, over 1/3, benefit anyway from the placebo. The word placebo means I shall please. Now the opposite of that is also true. When you say this drug is going to cause a lot of side effects, it's a very powerful chemotherapeutic agent, and you take that pill in the belief that it is actually a powerful chemotherapeutic agent, then you might start having nausea, vomiting, you could throw up, and ultimately you could lose your hair and get ulcers, all because you believed that that drug, which was a dummy drug, was a powerful chemotherapeutic drug. So words encode meaning, and those meanings are metabolized by human consciousness to create specific biological effects. But those words also refer to sensations. For writers of fiction, they refer to prolific imaginary landscapes or constructs and stories. Words can refer to taste and smell, and words can refer to various sense perceptions as well. And how we weave those words together actually can create biological responses, but also influence our perception of that which we call reality, which we call the everyday world. So, listening to the great teachings of the wisdom traditions, here are some ideas for you that may help you in shaping your reality when you use language and words. So, number one, when you're using words, ask yourself, is my tone friendly or unfriendly? And if you smile once in a while, then the tone will automatically be friendly, and the words will be much more powerful, because people like to listen to words that bring the feeling at the emotional level of friendliness. So number one, make sure that your tone is friendly. You smile once in a while. And number two, ask yourself before you speak, is it really necessary? We waste too much energy in saying things which are trivial, banal, and have no effect whatsoever other than increasing gossip, and that's a total waste of energy and time. So ask yourself, is it necessary? Is my tone friendly? Number three, is it useful? Number four, is it true? Number five, is it, we said useful, is it going to nourish the person, make them feel better, or is it going to make them feel diminished? So when you ask those questions and you observe your own self speaking, then gradually words become healing. Words become very helpful in shaping perception, because perceptions, sensations, images, feelings, thoughts are all entangled and they're influenced by words. That's how the word becomes the flesh. It influences your biology, but it also influences how you perceive the world and how you interpret the world. So speak only when necessary. Ask yourself whether it's true. Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it nourishing? Is it helpful? And then also balance your speaking through deep listening. Listening with the mind, with the heart, with the body, and ultimately listening in the presence of stillness, where every word seeps into your core being, and that word then creates your own perception of reality by looking at context, meaning relationship, archetypal stories, and also experiences of the past, which we call karma. So that's all I have to say today. If you want language to heal, then use language consciously. It's also the secret to power. When you use language, but at the same time you are beneath no one, where you're immune to criticism and flattery, where you're fearless, but your words and your behavior come from politeness, and you're deferential, you have good manners, you have courtesy and respect as you speak in relationship, then your words will heal and your words will make a big difference to everybody who hears them. Language doesn't merely describe, language actually creates our perception of that which we call reality. See you tomorrow.